I am 26 years old. I am 5 feet 4 inches. I weigh about 110 pounds. My shoe size is 9.5. But I guess that's not what I'm supposed to be saying here today. I guess you want to know who I am, right? So when I sat down to figure out what I was going to do with this speech, I asked myself that question: Who am I? And that's a pretty difficult question to answer, especially in 6 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, I think is the time. So, what I decided to do for this speech is to kind of just take you on the journey I took as I tried to figure out what I was going to tell you about who I am. So, when I started thinking about what I was going to say, I went back 20 years. I'm 26 now, so I went back 20 years to when I was 6 years old. Why, I don't know. That's where I started thinking about who I am. At 6 years old, I was a tiny little twerp. I had very curly hair. My mother has a very curly hair, so when I was younger, my hair was much, much curlier than it is today. I don't know what happened. And I was shy and just running around in first grade. And my tias, my family would tell me, Sergio, when you were 6 years old, you were so happy and smiling and laughing. What happened? And they would tell me that when I was 12 years old. So something changed. Puberty hit or whatever. And that changed. So who I was at 6 years old isn't really who I am today. So I was like, okay, 6 years old is gonna work. What about 10 years? 10 years ago. 10 years ago I was 16. 16. Acne covered in high school. Awkward teenager, and I was in love with journalism. I fell in love with journalism. We had a great student newspaper, and I just was all about it for my high school career. And I threw myself into that. And I broke the big stories at school, and I just loved it. But today, I have nothing to do with journalism. So, 10 years ago, that's not working out to helping you explain who I am today. So, that's not going to work. So, let me try 5 years ago. There has to be something that I can tell you about who I am today from 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was in college at Cal State Fullerton, majoring in journalism still, and Cal State Fullerton. I went there because it has a great journalism program. It's a daily newspaper, and my college career, I worked my way up to being editor in chief, and 100 to 150 people working with me to produce a daily paper every day. We were a multi-million-dollar operation. It was an intense experience. And so when I graduated from college, I was in a good place to have a long journalism career. But again, I have nothing to do with journalism today. So even 5 years ago, it's not helping you understand who I am today. So if this is 5 years ago, then we'll go 6 months ago. Try to figure that out. 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I was living in South Korea teaching English. I had a ton of friends because we had free time, but we didn't work that much. They paid really well, so I had more money than I'd ever had in my life. I loved the food. I loved the people. It was an amazing life in South Korea. And 6 months ago, after being there for 2 years, 6 months ago, I left South Korea. So here I am today in America with much fewer friends, much less money, and just in a completely different place. So even 6 months ago doesn't really correlate to who I am today. So I guess I could just tell you who I am today. Today I am I'm trying to get a couple companies started. Kind of an entrepreneur. See how that goes. New investor. I'm gonna buy some land nobody wants. Hopefully they want it in the future. Um, I wrote a personal constitution since leaving Korea, so I have personal laws that I try to govern myself by now. Among them, keeping positive, being open to new experiences, meeting new people. In my leadership roles, I found a quote. I try to communicate other people's worth and potential so clearly they are inspired to see it in themselves. So that's what I try to provide. Um, but I didn't want to stand here today and tell you just that. I really wanted to convey to you that if I just gave you the surface level of who I am today, there's not much depth there. Because I realized as I was trying to figure out how to write this speech, who I was at 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and 6 months ago is who I am today. When I was 6 years old, even though even though I was happy-go-lucky then, I got out of puberty, and I'm happy-go-lucky again today because I was then, I am now. 10 years ago, I'm not in journalism today, but when I went into journalism 10 years ago, I found the courage that I'm using today to stand here and give this speech. 5 years ago, I had a lot of experience in journalism, a successful career ahead of me, right?
and I turned my life in a completely new direction. And I found that I can completely change my life, go somewhere completely new, and still be okay and be happy today. Um, 6 months ago, I left South Korea, and since then, I found out who I am and who I want to be, which is a new speech. Maybe next time, real life. But I just wanted to convey that because that's important to me. That I understand who I was is who I am. So, uh, I am. I started my speech with who I was, and now I'm ending with who I am. I am just Sergio. Hello.